Imagine a world where universities no longer teach us how to live well, but only how to make a living. Where education doesn't form character, but simply trains us to compete. Where liberty no longer means self-mastery, but just the absence of constraint. Sounds familiar, right? That's because we're already there. Today, we are diving into a forgotten truth, the collapse of the liberal arts, and how liberalism itself is the very force that killed them. Before we rush into debates about STEM, usefulness, or whether an art history degree is a waste of money, let's step back. Let's ask, what were the liberal arts supposed to be in the first place? And why do they matter more today than ever before? For most of human history, culture was the technology of human growth. Culture wasn't entertainment. It wasn't Netflix or TikTok trends. Culture was the soil in which human beings grew. It was the way each generation passed down its deepest wisdom, its virtues, its understanding of what it means to be human. And at the heart of culture stood the liberal arts. Why liberal? Because they were the arts that educated a free person, not someone free to do whatever they wanted, but someone capable of self-governance, capable of living well in a community, guided by reason and virtue. In ancient world, Plato, Aristotle, Cicero, and later in Christian traditions with Augustine, Aquinas, Dante, and Milton, freedom was never something you were simply born with. You had to learn freedom. Think about that. You weren't naturally free. You had appetites, desires, impulses, and if you just obeyed them, you were just a slave to yourself. True freedom was an achievement, cultivated through education, discipline, and virtue. That was the point of the liberal arts. Teach the art of being free. But along came a different idea, liberalism. Thinkers like Hobbes and Locke told us we were born free, that freedom is just the absence of restraint. Law, for them, wasn't a teacher of virtue, it was just a contract we signed so no one would steal our stuff. This subtle shift in philosophy completely transformed education. If freedom is something you are born with, then education isn't something about cultivating virtue, it's about maximizing autonomy. It's about making sure you have the tools to do whatever you want. And so, the liberal arts, the disciplines that once shaped character, began to look irrelevant. Why wrestle with Homer, Augustine, or Shakespeare when you could be mastering engineering, finance, or coding? Why study how to live well when you can learn how to live comfortably? You can still see the ghosts of the old tradition if you look carefully. Take university seals and mottos. Ohio University's seal once said, "Religion, learning, civility, above all, virtue." The University of Texas adopted, "A cultivated mind is the guardian genius of democracy." These weren't just slogans. They told students that education was about restraint, virtue, and responsibility. That knowledge wasn't just power, it was the moral formation. Compare that to today's mission statements, full of buzzwords like excellence, innovation, and advancing society through research. Sounds good on paper, but the soul is missing. What happened to virtue? What happened to cultivating wisdom? The very architecture of our campuses, Gothic towers, robes, and rituals, are like palimpsests, ancient writing faintly visible under modern ink. A trained eye can still see the old spirit of liberal arts, but it has been buried. By the mid-20th century, universities had rebranded. Instead of being communities formed around truth, they became what Clark Kerr, a chancellor of UC Berkeley, called multiversity. Their job? Not to shape free citizens, but to produce knowledge, serve industry, advance science, and power the military. Faculty became specialists, chasing grants and publications, not mentors shaping souls. Students became consumers in an education marketplace, choosing majors like products. And everyone agreed the humanities were nice, but not useful. Now, you might think, surely the professors in humanities defended their disciplines, right? Strangely, many didn't. Instead, humanities department tried to survive by imitating the science. They turned away from teaching the wisdom of the past and instead made careers out of deconstructing it. They argued that the great books were just relics of oppression. They embraced postmodernism, identity politics, and jargon-filled theory, a way of proving they were just as progressive and productive as STEM. But here's the irony. In trying to justify themselves on liberalism's terms, they betrayed their very purpose. The liberal arts stopped being about how to live and started being about how to critique. And students, they voted with their feet. Why spend 4 years in English or philosophy if the professors themselves say the books aren't worth reading? You might think conservatives would defend the liberal arts. After all, these are the traditions they claim to value. But modern conservatives largely threw in the towel. Instead of making a case for why studying Dante or Aquinas matters for human flourishing, they joined the chorus demanding more STEM education. Politicians like Scott Walker and Marco Rubio openly mocked liberal arts for not leading to high-paying jobs. Even conservatives who defended the great books often missed the point. They wanted students to read the classics, but ignored that many of these books, ironically, contained the very ideas that undermined the classical education in the first place. The scientific revolution wasn't imposed from the outside, it grew from within the Western tradition. So both sides abandoned the ship. The left deconstructed tradition in the name of liberation, and the right abandoned tradition in the name of economic utility. The result? Liberal arts education is dying and hardly anyone is mourning. Here's the deepest tragedy. Liberalism promised liberation. Liberation from limits, liberation from nature, liberation from tradition. But in reality, it enslaved us to our appetites, to endless consumption, to the market. Think about the 2008 financial crisis. It wasn't just bad banking, it was a cultural collapse. The belief that wanting something is enough to justify taking it, that appetite equals entitlement. Universities didn't resist this logic. In many ways, they taught it. The very graduates of elite schools trained in this new model of freedom were the ones who engineered the crisis. And still, instead of rediscovering the lessons of the liberal arts, universities double down. More STEM, more business, more relevance. So where does that leave us? Is it too late? Not necessarily. The liberal arts survive, scattered across small colleges, old mottos, faint traditions. And if we look back to their original purpose, they may be exactly what we need today. Because here's the thing, human appetite is limitless, but the world is not. If we think freedom means satisfying every desire, we will end up exhausted, enslaved, and destructive. The liberal arts teach us something different. Freedom through limits, the art of governing desire, the wisdom of self-restraint. As Wendell Berry put it, limits are not condemnation, they are the condition for living well. They return us to our heritage as humans, creatures capable of self-restraint, stewardship, loyalty, generosity, and love. That's what education is supposed to transmit. Not just technical skill, but culture. Not just innovation, but wisdom. We've confused freedom with license, education with training, and culture with entertainment. But the liberal arts whisper a counter-truth. That freedom is not doing whatever you want. It's becoming the kind of person who knows what's worth wanting. Maybe that's the real education we're missing. And maybe it's the one we need the most. So what do you think? Are the liberal arts dead? Or can they be revived in an age obsessed with STEM, market, and innovation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos on philosophy, culture, and the ideas that shape our world. Thanks for watching.